to write stand-up comedy. He said, take the stuff that makes you angry and make it funny. So that's a big thing. If you watch Carlin, that's all he did. Everything made him angry in his later years. He also drove Robin Williams once, and exactly. That guy was a true one of a kind. And Jerry was talking about he wanted to go on the road and do comedy, but it was his wife wanted him to be at home, and they were having that issue. And Robin Williams said, "Oh, forget your marriage, save your life." Ooh, and that's what he did. He ended up divorcing his wife and getting back into comedy. So that was
sage advice.
That was Robin Williams' advice. Ooh, forget your marriage, save your life. Ooh.
It was outrun by fruiting deer. And, gotta love them. Well, it makes me want to know, what do you define as good comedy?
Good comedy. Original, not just in the jokes, but the presentation, and the kind of jokes that I wish I'd thought of. That's the biggest compliment a comedian can give another comedian, is they go, "Oh, I wish I'd thought of that." That's I see that with I think my favorite guy right now is Jim Gaffigan. He's not only does he write really well, but there's amazing economy in his writing. He doesn't babble on with, you know what I mean, and this fluffy stuff that just fills time. If you were to transcribe, just take any random 2 minutes of any one of his sets and transcribe any 2-minute section, there's not a wasted word. He just it's just joke, and he can go an hour doing that, which I find incredible. Yeah, and it's one funny bit after another, and then he'll the way he sells the like the bit about, he had a bit in one of his specials about how people go and they watch the trees turn brown in autumn, and he says, "You're watching plants die. Yes. Why are you enjoying watching plants die? And what's that like for the leaves? A leaf falls, like, Carl, isn't it a nice day today? Carl,
yeah,
where'd you go?" And he names a leaf Carl. Yeah. Just things like that. And it just, I'm not sure how to teach that. And that's amazing to me, because you can look at any other joke and say, well, here's a way that they may have arrived at that joke. But then you look at that guy, it's remarkable. And he does it without gimmicks, he does it without, there's a series of comedians that are showing up now. I call them millennial comedians because millennials seem to love them, and people my age don't quite get them. I appreciate them. I get what they're doing. I get why it's funny, but it isn't as funny to me. Dane Cook flopping around on stage the way he does. People under 35 love it. And I'm going, okay, when he tells jokes, those are funny. Yeah. But the hyperkinetic energy he has, I don't get it. And it must be a thing with millennials where they go, "Oh, look how spastic he's acting. Isn't that hilarious?" To which I say, no, it's not. It's just him being spastic. Explain it to me. So there's a certain element of that that's creeping into comedy. But again, that's not my place to I'm allowed to have an opinion, but I can't sit here and say comedy is corrupted because people are, Sebastian Maniscalco is having, seizures in between his jokes or whatever, however you describe that. But if people love it, good for him. Great for him. And he also writes good jokes. I don't want to dismiss the quality of his work, but that thing that he does, that I don't get it. I don't know why he does that. I don't get it. People like it. That's the beginning and end of it. So these are the same people who complain that they think Larry the Cable Guy is hacky. Well, Larry the Cable Guy makes something like $100 million a year. He's not hacky to the people who watch him. So
that's his audience.
Yeah, that's his audience. So that's all I have to say about that.
Well, what makes you laugh in that sense?
What makes me laugh? Impropriety. People, but in a genuine way. I thought the first season of Roseanne, the old Roseanne show, was hilarious. Where she would just take the air out of people who took themselves too seriously. David Letterman interviewing people, not on his new thing on Netflix, because he likes those interviews. He would do interviews on his CBS show that he clearly didn't want to do. and he would humiliate these people, and that to me was hilarious because some of these people took themselves so serious and didn't deserve to be there. I mean, one of the funniest interviews he ever did was with Paris Hilton, who is just such a zero of a celebrity. At least Kim Kardashian is good at publicity. I don't know what her talent is, but at least she does something that resonates with people. I couldn't tell you what it is, but she does. Paris Hilton didn't even do that. She just walked around being Paris Hilton and thought she could get away with it. And she was on his show not long after she'd gotten arrested for something. I don't know if it was a DUI and an accident or I don't even know what it was. But Letterman kept asking her about what life was like in the big house, and she was so uncomfortable with these questions. She'd been in jail for a weekend. I mean, that was it. And then she would go on and start talking about her singing career or acting career, and Dave would go, Did you learn how to make bathtub gin? Did you make wine in the toilet? Did you have a protector?
Wow, that's good.
He would ask her these questions, and it was the funniest damn thing. Because it was real. There was something real about it. I think the big thing for me is if it's real. The Jackass movies are funny to me. It's immature, but in an era where everything is fake, those guys are really doing those things. And that's hilarious. And that's amazing. It should be celebrated. Everybody's so full of crap and everything's so manufactured. And reality TV is the most unrealistic thing on TV, incidentally.
Yeah.
During the writers' strike of 2008, they would spot target for picketing certain production companies in town. And they would go to producers of reality shows. Is this mic on? Writers' strike. We're picketing reality shows.
Yeah.
Hello. That's all you need to know. But that's anyway. That's the thing for me. I think if it's real, if you're doing it with real conviction and real courage, those comedians are funny. I mean, Bill Burr fighting with an audience is funny, and it happens from time to time. That's funny because he'll go at them, and he's fearless. I mean, he knows who he is. He knows what his positions are, and he doesn't budge an inch, and he doesn't have to. Because he believes all the things he says, and it shows when he gets challenged. And it's wonderful. It's a wonderful thing.
So, who have you opened for?
Yeah. There's opening for, and there's being on the same bill as.
Okay.
Those are two different things. Opening for means some headliner said, hey, I want you to come with me on the road.
Right.
And that's a big deal. If you can get somebody to do that. I haven't quite gotten there yet. But L.A. being the industry town that it is, I have been on stage with a number of people over the years. Bill Burr, in fact, I was emceeing once at a local club here, and he did a drop-in. I got to bring him on stage. That was a treat. And he's exactly what you'd expect. Before this show, I met him. It's like, hi, Bill, I'm Joe. I'm the MC. Hey, Joe, how you doing? I mean, he's like that. He's that guy. He's really that guy. I've been on stage. Mary Lynn Rice Cube. She was Chloe on 24. She's a comedian, a very good one, and she's also very nice. Erica Rhodes, whom you may know from Bring the Funny on NBC, and she's acted in a bunch of other things. I'm blanking. I'm blanking. I don't have my resume in front of me. It's been a bunch of. Right. It's been a lot of various names of people who've been on TV, and I've met them and chatted with them. People who've been on late night television. A lot of people who've done late night shows have been on shows. Grant Lyon, I just did a show with him. He was on one of the late night shows. I think it was Late Night with Colbert, or maybe the other one, James Corden.
But I'm sure you've been being around them. You've learned something from all of them.
You learn how unflappable they are. How they will roll with anything, and it shows. Experience shows on stage, and it's pretty remarkable watching how calm they can do things, how calmly they can do things. Laurie Kilmartin and Brian Kiley, they're both writers for Conan, and they both have been doing stand-up forever, and they're both pros, and they both make it look easy. Just watching their cadences and watching how long they wait between laughs. Sometimes they'll let a laugh completely subside and then continue. Sometimes they'll talk over the laugh if they want to get that pace going. How to deal with hecklers by turning things on the heckler. That's an interesting thing to watch also.
Sure.
And it you never know when it's going to happen, but they're ready. And it's interesting about hecklers. There's this perception that hecklers are drunks who just yell "you suck," and that's not it. They interrupt with dumb questions.
Yeah.
That's a big one. And it doesn't. The pros will stop what they're doing and just start talking to a person in the front row who's babbling, and literally within about 15 seconds, they've already given you enough rope that you can use to hang them with. They're not comedians, and they don't know what they're talking about. And it isn't long before they say something stupid. And you might have a saver going, "Oh, I see a guy, a bunch of guys here tonight. I see you're all with your girlfriends." But boom, they don't. Clearly, you can't get any dates. No dates to come with you tonight. It doesn't take long before you can start picking them apart. And then, of course, the guys all start laughing at their buddy who's drunk and stupid and says the thing in the first place. But you learn to roll with that. That's interesting to watch also. Just how they how it's so slippery, because you think, well, I can go up there and just recite jokes, but it's the way they're doing it. There was a movie about the Beatles in the 90s. I forgot which one it was, but there was a scene where they were still undiscovered. They were in some bar in Liverpool, and the girls were going crazy, and two guys were in back complaining, going, they were looking at John Lennon or Paul McCartney, going, "I don't understand. He just stands there and does nothing." And someone says, "Yes, but it's the way he does nothing." And that's the best way I can describe watching pro comedians. There's not that much separating me from them, and yet there is.
And who are your influences in stand-up?
Who are my influences in stand-up?
Past or present, yeah.
Good question. I really liked Gary Shandling. I thought he was very funny and very droll, the way he did things, the way he would calmly just unfold a joke, and then just this rabid punchline that was so hilarious following it. Robert Klein, I thought, was terrific, because he was so conversational. The way he did things, he would just come out there and just it was like he was having a conversation, but he was sneaking all these jokes in. And who really came into his own. It took him a while, but now he's just unstoppable. Is Lewis Black. I think he's the closest thing to George Carlin that we have right now. And Carlin himself, was a god. The way that guy would just call out the BS in any situation, and the way these people all merged their jokes with their persona. And that's a very tricky thing, trying to figure out how you should act. You can write a joke and memorize it and say it, but there are 100 ways you can say it. And to blend your style with the joke that you're saying, that's tricky. And that's something comedians, literally, it can take decades for them to figure out. And it's so tricky. I think Lewis Black didn't become Lewis Black until somebody, I think it was Kathy Ladman, said, you need to scream more. And he started screaming, and he figured it out. And that was his thing. So, but that's those are the people I like watching the most, I think.
So, what did you win in 2017?
Oh, yeah, I won the Clean Comedy Challenge. It's a great woman I think she's based out of Ohio, named Leslie Norris Townsend, runs this thing every year. And she has it in 2 or 3 cities a year. And it's 3 nights of people doing clean comedy. And during the day, there are lectures from people. You learn about various joke writing techniques and things. Got to meet Gene Parrott, who was a joke writer for Bob Hope. That was a treat. He was a great guy. He's a great guy. He's still around. He runs a writers group here in LA. But I thought, well, I'll give this thing a try. So I went and I met 19 other comedians at this at the Ice House in Pasadena. They had it for 3 days. And for me, that's nearby. So that was a convenient factor, because most people had to fly in from other parts. And Tuesday night, we did our 3 minutes. And then the next day, another nice thing is the judges from the night before meet you the next day and give you feedback on your sets. And that's valuable also, because you learn what other people think. And, take it for what it's worth, because sometimes it's just an opinion, but sometimes it resonates and it makes sense. But my big takeaway, and again, it goes back to playing edges. The third afternoon, that is to say, we were getting feedback on our second night of comedy. One of the judges was Jan Smith, who was the booker at the Ice House. And he saw me, and we met for a few minutes, and he said, you wore a jacket, and I really appreciate that, because a lot of comedians, they treat this like a hobby. They dress in jeans and torn clothes. They wear shorts and sandals. People hate in the comedy business, they hate it when you wear shorts and sandals. And audiences might not care, but bookers and MCs hate it. I don't know why they hate it so much, but they hate it. Just FYI.